This is live at local morning radio, coming to you from the studios of Magic Broadcasting on Laird. This is the Kramer Show. The phone is now open, and the phone operators are standing by. Turn down your radio when you call. Pay attention and be ready to go. 850-233-9988.
What a porker.
This is Kramer.
It is 7:05. Today is December the 13th. Good morning to you, my little morsel of chocolate candy-coated Christmas delight goodness. Scott Major of Major Paruas and the Storm Help team joins us now. It is Thursday. Are you in the holiday spirit, Mr. Major? You getting in the Santa Claus spirit, are you?
I am indeed, sir.
Yes, good. Are you a big Christmas person?
I love the holiday season.
Yeah, so do I. So do we. We have Christmas trees up in the studio. We've got stockings hung with care. And you know what? Listen, last hour we were talking some about the depression because it is the holidays, and mixed with all the destruction and all the storm, and people are going through many different things. One of the things that people are dealing with is insurance and their insurance companies. That's where you come in to alleviate some of that stress so that maybe you can have a happy, good holiday season, correct?
Absolutely. I'm trying to give people their lives back. This has been a horrific and terrible thing that the insurance companies did not pay fully and more quickly. People are realizing that they have to take the matter into their own hands, and we're trying over the times that you and I have been speaking to give the educational power to people so that they can get their insurance money and get their lives back.
And it is doable. It is something that a lot of people are going to need help with, and that's where Scott Major from Paruas and Major Paruas and the Storm Help Team come in. Stormhelpteam.org. Their phone number 844-800-LAWS. If you've never heard a show with Mr. Major and myself, you want to talk about somebody that's aggressive, tenacious about going out and getting this done. It is Scott Major. And another point too, I don't know if we say this enough, but Scott, his background is working with the insurance companies, and at some point he switched over to this side, to the good side. So with that said, he knows the ins and outs and the intricacies of how the insurance companies deal, correct?
Absolutely. I think that everyone's getting an education now as to the problems associated with recovering insurance monies. We made assumptions that when our house was destroyed or our business was destroyed, our church was destroyed, that we would make a phone call and we'd get a check. And that's a reasonable assumption. It didn't happen that way. And it's in large part a situation where people don't realize that the insurance company, is slow and is not responsive and in some cases insensitive. But regardless of whether you like the insurance companies or not, all that matters is that people don't have the money to repair their property, yet they have a contract which ensures that they should be paid that money.
Yeah, important to note that. Very important. If you have a call, if you have a question for Scott, 850-233-9988. Hop on the air and ask him your questions. They have another event that's coming up. We'll be talking about that in a second, but they've done events before where they ask you to come right out and sit down in front of them and have a conversation, outline with photos, the whole nine. They're going to be at La Quinta, 7115 Coastal Palms. They'll be there 3 to 7 every day this week, and they're actually going to have a speech at 6 p.m. on Friday night at La Quinta. But you need to reserve a spot, though, for that, and you can do that by calling 844-800-LAWS. What is this that's coming up, Scott?
We are trying to empower as many people as possible and educate them so that they understand what the things they need to do are and to understand some of the technical things. And we're going to go over that at the next session. I'll give you an example. That's something that's important for all the listeners. There is a document called a proof of loss. It is a document that you have to fill out in every single case in order to get a recovery. That is a piece of paper that makes you essentially swear to the specific losses that you have and then to sign that document to the insurance company. Probably 99% of people have never even heard that term. And yet if you don't fill out this form, the insurance company can justifiably refuse to pay you. And you end up with either nothing or far less than you deserve. So some of these technical, important matters, we try to educate you so that whether you're doing it alone, whether you already have an adjuster, whether you have your favorite lawyer, or whether you want to talk to us, you have the smarts, you have the intelligence, the weaponry to go forward and maximize the recovery of insurance dollars sooner rather than later.
You know, it really is kind of upsetting because you would think, okay, I've been paying my insurance. That's the way we do this. I pay my insurance premiums. I write the insurance, and then something bad happens. And if something bad happens, then I'm taken care of from the insurance company. And then, but no, it's not simple. It has to be, 1,000 different things going on here. And if you've never heard of a proof of loss, and you said that 99% of people haven't even heard of it, what are we doing? I mean, what are we doing wrong in that? I mean, how is that even possible? And why is that the case?
It's unfortunate, but the way in which these policies are written, you need a cryptographer and a physicist and some food and water in order to be able to recognize how to read these things. And I would venture to say, Kramer, that if I gave an insurance policy to 100 lawyers, either 99 or 100 of them couldn't tell you what specific coverage was there or not with sufficient specificity, or wouldn't know what even a proof of loss was. So it's already written in a place and in a way that is tragic and unfortunate. And I'd love to be able to change the way they write these things. But until then, you have to arm yourself. You have to know the facts. You have to know that if part of your wall is damaged, the insurance company generally has to replace the entire wall. If part of your tile is damaged and they can't match it exactly, the statute in Florida requires them to replace all of it. Another big thing, what about deductibles? What people don't realize is that if your damages far exceed the limits on your policy, that you may be able to avoid even having to pay deductible. So if I have a $10,000 limit and I suffer $25,000 of damage, and I have maybe a $2,000 deductible, the law says that you can absorb the deductible, meaning you don't even have to pay it. So there are all these interesting and technical things that if you're not aware of them, you wouldn't even know which you don't even know. Yeah,
that's interesting you say that. Now out of all the times that I've had conversations with people over the past couple of months, that's the first I've heard of that. So back to your example. If you have a $10,000 limit on your insurance, you have, say, $25,000, or you have $25,000 in damage, yet you have a $2,000 deductible, then you could be in line to not have to pay the deductible, and that's what, under some Florida statute?
Yes, under the law as interpreted by the cases, you can't be forced to reduce the policy limit by the deductible all the time. In other words, an insurance company is promising to pay you $10,000. They can't always say, well, the most we'll ever pay you is $9,000. Well, then that wouldn't be honoring their limits. So when would they have to pay $10,000? Well, if your damages far exceed the amount of the loss, beyond the deductible. So if you had $12,000 of damage, then the insurance company is basically have to pay you the entire amount because you essentially have paid the deductible. Because essentially you're going to have to pay the difference anyway. So the insurance company can't refuse to pay. If they do, they would essentially never pay the policy limits because they'd always pay the limit and then say, well, you got a $5,000 deductible. That's not the way insurance works. So it's a technical, and you have to be really knowledgeable in this area to know it. They call it absorbing the deductible. And if you understand what absorbing the deductible is, you might be able to save in 100% of the cases. You might be able to save having to pay your deductible. And that could be a big number. And sometimes deductibles are 5%. So if you have $1 million claim, that could be a $50,000 number that you're going to be able to save. So these are all these high technical things that if you don't have an expert, you are likely to leave money on the table and not even know it.
Wow. Pretty crazy. Another thing we talk about, you and I, sometimes is the fact that $20,000 means $20,000. If you got $20,000 in damage and the insurance company comes back and says, hey, you got 15.5. No, you got 20. There is no dilly-dallying.
That's exactly right. And they need to pay you what you deserve. We talked yesterday. We had a meeting with the condominium association. They have $24 million worth of damage. And how much have you been paid? Well, we got a $225,000 check and a $2 million check. And what was that for? We have absolutely no idea. They just,
wow.
What was the basis of that number? Well, they said it's an emergency payment, and they said it's a stipend. In another case, we had somebody who got $80,000 on a property that's completely destroyed. The house is not even livable. Okay, well, what was the $80,000 for? We have no idea. We just got a check, and we don't know whether that's, should we cash it? Should we need cash? What should we do? Is that all the money we're going to get? I realize that the insurance companies are doing this because under what's called the 90-day rule, that within 90 days they have to pay something. They have to evaluate your claim and make a decision. And so they figure if they make some payment, they can literally either close their file or they can say, well, we have made some payment, so what if it's not related to anything or it's a made-up number? And it's unbelievable how many thousands of people I have talked to that get checks that have absolutely no correlation whatsoever to the actual damage. None.
Oh, man, unbelievable. All right, we got to take a break. We've got phones. I want to make sure that you take advantage of this time with Scott Major from Major Paruas and the Storm Help Team. You make sure that you call up if you've got a question, you want to talk to him about your personal situation, whether it be corporate or commercial or residential. 850-233-9988. 850-233-9988. I'm going to get some phone calls coming up, and I'm also going to tell you about an event that's going on this week that can help you out, all right? Stand by, Mr. Major. I'll talk to you in a second. Stand by, everybody. Right back in a minute.
Good morning. More live and local in the morning. Coming up next with Kramer. This is NewsTalk at 101. The phone lines are open. 850-233-9988. You aren't afraid of a little talk show host now, are you? This is the Kramer Show on NewsTalk at 101.
Scott Major from the Major Paruas and Storm Help Team is on with us. Glad to have him, and you should be too. The audience can partake with these guys at La Quinta, 7115 Coastal Palms. 3 to 7 every day this week, and they're going to have a speech on Friday night at La Quinta. But you need to reserve your place, your spot now. Call 844-800-LAWS. 844-800-LAWS. All right, we got some phones lined up. Let's go to Phil. You're on with Scott on the Kramer Show. Go ahead, Phil.
Yes, sir. My question is just to what you were discussing. We had a water claim even before the hurricane back in August that caused us to move out. So the insurance company's paid a good bit for that water claim, but there's some odd things and then living expenses they've been paying for since then. And we've made 7 submittals, and then once in a while we'll get a check that correlates to no amount, and it's a check in an envelope. There's no explanation. How do you get them to give you a detail of what's been paid? I don't even know what to go back and ask them to pay.
Okay, no problem. Thanks for your question. The insurance company has a duty under the law, a requirement under the law, to provide what's called an EOB, which is an explanation of benefits. They are required to explain to you what the check is for and under what coverage that it applies. So if you all out there are listening and hear, I don't know what to do with my check or whatever it is, that what you do is you write the insurance company and you say, "Dear insurance company, thanks so much for the $8,000 check. Really appreciate it. Please detail in writing what this check is specifically for," or "Love and kisses you." Or said another way, insurance company, please explain to me what specific items on my detailed inventory or my detailed chart of damages or my detailed estimate does this apply to? Or, said another way, hey, listen, tell me exactly what you're writing this check for. And what the insurance company has to do is they have to tell you. If they won't tell you, you can file what's called a complaint under Chapter 624, and you can write the state of Florida and say, insurance companies pay me the following 6 payments or 3 payments, and I need an explanation. They refuse to provide it. Here's the correspondence. And then they will be contacted by the state, and they have to tell you. So it's important to make sure you know what that money's for, and also because you want to know if you weren't paid for something specific, then you want to know that. Let's say they didn't pay you for all of what's called your ALE, all of your loss of use. You sent them 12 receipts, and it adds up to $297, and they wrote a check for $200. So tell me what the problem is with the $97. Maybe they have a good reason. Maybe they say the receipt's invalid, or maybe they'll say, hey, I need a picture with that, or you went over your limit. But whatever it is, knowledge is power. You're absolutely entitled under the law, and the insurance companies are not supposed to send you checks without telling you.
It's a record keeping, because we have a pre-hurricane claim and then a post-hurricane claim, and we got a check yesterday, just a check in an envelope that apparently is for our 7th submittal, but they haven't paid 2 through 6.
Strongly recommend you email them with a return receipt, box check that says, we've received all your checks. Listen, we received 5 checks, 2 checks, 7 checks, and here's the amount of those checks, and here's the dates we got. We need you to detail and explain what specifically each of those checks apply to. And they'll tell you. They have to tell you under the law, or it's a violation of law that can be sanctioned by the state. So make sure you do that, because you just want to know what it's for and what it's not for. Because you may have a claim, and again, if you don't get paid, let's say you don't get paid $386, you could go to Major Paruas and hire one of the best firms in the country to handle that case for you, and we'll take that case in a heartbeat. Doesn't matter the amount, because we would be able to recover the attorney's fees from the insurance company. So you don't have to say, well, geez, it's a small claim. No one's going to take that case. No one's going to help you. You absolutely can get helped. And I think you should get every single dollar you deserve. Not any more, but not any less.
Is that a tactic from the insurance companies to send you a check and not really explain to you what's going on, in hopes that you go away and just take the check and don't ask for more?
The answer is, I would say in many cases, it's yes. Yeah. There are some cases where there's just negligence. But the bottom line is, whether it's nefarious or not, whether you think the greatest people or not, you are entitled to every dollar that you're contracted to get.
Yes.
Why shouldn't you get that? You and I, Kramer, have talked about this. We've been frustrated that we don't understand why they didn't just back up an 18-wheeler and start handing out money, because it's obvious the storm caused these damages. It's just a function of how much did you support and justify to entitle you for the monies you're requesting.
Let's go to Wayne. Wayne, you're up with Scott Major. Go ahead, Wayne.
Yes, I got a question for you. I'm a roofing contractor, and I heard something this week that I've never heard before from one of my customers. But they have a shingle roof, and they want to upgrade to a metal roof, and they understand there's a difference to be paid, and they're willing to pay the difference. But the insurance company is saying, because you're not doing a shingle roof, we're going to keep the amount, the depreciation amount. Even though they're doing the roof, it's because they're not replacing with like. And again, they're not asking them to pay the difference in the two. They're saying, we're not going to credit you the depreciation amount because you're not going back to shingles. Have you heard of that? And is that something that they can actually do?
The answer is that in doing this for I don't know how many decades and handling thousands and probably seeing hundreds of thousands of claims, I could tell you that I've never heard of any insurance company refusing to pay for a completed roof, so long as that roof met the code. And if somebody wants to upgrade, somebody wants to get better at their product for whatever reason, you are absolutely entitled to that. Now, they can hold back the depreciation until you complete the roof. There's ways to negotiate around that, by the way, that I can talk to you offline. But conceptually, that is bad faith. That is what we talk about when we talk about you are replacing the roof. And what I would ask you to do, or I tell your client to do, is to write the insurance company, dear insurance company, thanks so much for telling me know that you're going to pay X and you refuse to pay on an aluminum roof. Will you please provide for me the specific language in the insurance policy, the page and the line, where it says that if I put on a better roof or a different roof, you don't have to pay me my money. Love and kisses you. And if they don't do that, they're in bad faith. You might be able to sue them for triple the damages. So write them and do that. And I'm telling you, you'll get results.
Yes. Okay, I will have my client do it. Like I said, in my dealing with insurance companies, and we're having to deal with them a lot this time. That's the first I'd heard anything like that in my life.
That's really good advice. Scott Major, hang on 1 second. More calls coming up next.
The Kramer Show will be back in a sec on NewsTalk at 101. He knows when you're sleeping. He knows when you're awake. Because he's stalking you. And he put a GPS tracker on your car. We're back with Kramer on NewsTalk at 101.
Scott Major of Major Paruas and the Storm Help Team. Scott just mentioned this briefly, but he's been handling insurance claims and cases for over 30 years. 844-800-LAWS, also 844-800-LAWS, to set yourself up for 3 to 7 this week at La Quinta, 7115 Coastal Palms, and have a speech on Friday night at 6 o'clock. And as you know, we've been talking, there are things I'm learning daily, and we've been talking about this stuff for on and off for 2 months, and I'm still learning things. And you have people that are, that have catastrophic damage to their homes that are trying to weed their way through this process with their insurance company. And how you can do it without somebody on your side that knows this stuff in and out. I don't even know how to begin to do that. I have talked to people that are trying to do it, and they're virtually pulling their hair out.
There's no doubt about that. And I'll tell you that is why I've encouraged your listeners and your listeners' friends and their friends to use somebody who has knowledge. If you already have a public adjuster and you're not sure if they're doing a good job, call me. If you already have your favorite lawyer, call me. If you already have started the process and they promise you a check and you haven't gotten everything, or you haven't, call me. You dial the 844-800-LAWS. You can get information. If you want me to tell you whether or not your lawyer is doing a good job or whether your public adjuster can do more, I'm happy to help. The key is for everyone, and you were learning this just by the statement you just made, is that education is power. And this is like learning a new language. Somebody's asking you right now to learn a new language. Nobody knows this stuff in the sense that nobody who's got a claim, nobody who's a resident, who's a business owner, has any idea about the legalese or the garbage that's in these agreements. And so the only way to get through this is to learn every trick and every trade. Why would you want to not get all your money and then find out 6 months from now or a year from now that your windows start leaking and they looked good beforehand because you didn't have the right expert looking at the windows, and the windows start leaking, and you make a claim, and you say, I think it's from the hurricane. They go, no, that's just construction defect or something else, and a year or two from now, you got to replace your windows at your own cost when you could have gotten them paid. I mean, we could go on, but there are so many technicalities, and that's why we're offering all these educational seminars, and you and I are talking all the time, because it is a lot of information that only real top professionals know.
Yeah, another thing that one of the callers just mentioned a while ago, it was the depreciation. And I was kind of proud of myself because I think I knew the answer to that, or at least in a roundabout way, not in a technical way. But, that's I hear that word too, depreciation, comes up a lot. And when you're talking about roofs, can you explain that to everyone so that everybody can kind of know what that means? When you think of depreciation, you think, okay, well, the roof is worn, so they're not going to give me all the money for my roof because it's worn. That's what I originally thought, but that technically is not the case, right?
That's correct. If you think about depreciation as just take out the word depreciation and replace, I want to make sure you rebuild in that word depreciation. What the insurance company is saying is, if you are not going to ensure that you rebuild, that you put that new roof on, we are not liable to pay you for something you don't do. And so if you are going to go ahead and put that roof on, the way in which we put a hold on paying you all your money is to tell you we will pay you the actual cash value, that is what they call depreciated, the value of that roof now, and then we'll pay you the remainder that equals the replacement cost once you complete the roof. And what that means is if I have a roof, and that roof is 10 years old, and that roof is a $10,000 roof, and it is 9 years old, they generally will give you $1,000 now, and then you complete the roof, they'll give you the other $9,000. Now, I'll tell you that while this is a complicated formula, a lot of insurance companies will go ahead and agree to pay the entire replacement cost value if you have a complete estimate that details from a professional who knows what they're doing. And the insurance company will say, don't worry, roofer, we'll make sure you get paid. We just need to make sure you're going through the process of getting the permits, actually rebuilding the roof, and completing the process. And once they start working with a particular roofer, they'll work with you. So the depreciation is a confusion thing, but it really is only a problem if you either, one, have an actual cash value policy, or number two, you're not really planning on redoing the roof, or you're hedging with the insurance company. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think I got it. A lot of
it's
people,
confusing. You know?
It is confusing, but a lot of people I've heard use that term, that word, when they call up the show and are sifting, through. And two, I think one of the last callers made a good point to say that there are people that are in the industry on some level that don't know certain things, like a contractor. He's out there, he's trying to do work, and then he runs into questions from the homeowner about the insurance, and, he doesn't know. And,
of course not. How would they know? Right, Kramer, how would they know? They're not in the insurance business. They're in the business of building. A roofer's in the business of putting a roof on. A general contractor's in the business of fixing properties or building properties. A plumber's in the business of fixing your leak. There's no way they would know. And so they don't even know. Innocently, they don't even know what they don't know. So they don't even know what to ask. So that's why I tell every contractor, every roofer, every condo association, every big business, listen, get an expert in there who can make sure that you can get your money. And a lot of these roofers and contractors are waiting, Kramer, for the insurance to pay, and they don't know how to expedite that, and so people aren't getting their property started. So even the contractors, the roofers, the vendors, call me on the phone or get an expert involved who can tell you how to get your money faster or how to communicate with an insurance company so that we can get our properties rebuilt.
It's Scott Major of Major Paruas and the Storm Help Team, 844-800-LAWS, 844-800-LAWS. And timing is of the essence. People are, I rent my home, and this past weekend, the doorbell rang, and I go, and it's the roofer. And I said, "What are you doing here?" And he goes, "I'm here because the owner called me, and he wants us to get up there and re-tarp part of the roof." And he goes, "Can I come in and see, if where the stains are?" And I was like, "Of course." So the guy comes in, I show him the stains on the ceiling, and we go into my son's room. I show him in there. And they hop up on that roof, and they're up there doing it. Now, while he's doing that, I'm having a conversation with my wife saying, well, I wonder, because there are people in the area that have not gone beyond getting the tarp on for the first time. Everybody has a tarp, but my gosh, it's been 2 months, and now we have these major rainstorms that are coming through. People are getting a little on the desperate side because they want somebody to give them some type of answer so that they can start moving and getting some things going. Until you get money, no one has, a lot of people don't have an extra $15,000 in the bank to pay for the roofer to come over or the general contractor or whatever to get things going. They're waiting on the insurance companies, and that's when you're starting to see the anger happen.
And it's justified. Let's talk a little bit about this TARP concept that you've seen. Okay, let's make sure we all understand that when you put a tarp onto a roof, it is a temporary fix. And by temporary, I mean days or weeks. Remember, if you put a tarp on top of a roof, it's a temporary fix. It's not going to protect like a roof, number one. And number two, it's also going to keep all that moisture that is inside your house. Petri dish for viruses, for bacteria. The most important thing to understand is you need to make sure you're pressuring that insurance company to get out and get your roof fixed, because otherwise you're building up mold and other environmental problems that aren't helpful for you. So there's all kinds of reasons, health and otherwise, why you want to get expeditious, very quick response from the insurance company, and not to wait and not to think that somehow the TARP should carry you for the next 5 months. It's just not going to do that, and it's going to create even more problems.
Let me go to Rick on line one. Rick, you're up with Scott Major. It's the Kramer Show. Go ahead. Good morning.
Yes, good morning, Kramer. The purpose for my call is really to validate the importance of the information that Mr. Major is providing to the community. As a lot of us, this is our first major catastrophe that we've had to deal with. And, of course, being the Southern charm, we all want to give the opportunity for a person to make what's right. However, through these seminars that I attended, I have come to find out that the insurance company is not our friend. I mean, the rate my insurance company is going, Cheryl would never get her she shed replaced, as they demonstrate on TV. With that said, I've learned through the education that the declaration has basically 4 line items. The coverages, one being the repairs to the dwelling, the other structures, contents, and loss of use. Through the information that I've received from this type of education, I did receive a $1,500 payment. It was for renting a U-Haul and taking a little bit of contents that I recovered and put it into storage. When I received my check, it came back under coverage A for the repairs to dwelling. Through the education, I immediately called my insurance company and told them, look, this had nothing to do with the repair of my house, and if that were to remain, that would have been $1,200 being deducted, which would have been actually required for repairing my house. So it is important for us to receive this information. I wouldn't go and have my taxes done without hiring a tax accountant, because I'm sure I'd leave money on the table. So my analogy is I've went out and retained these type of services, ensuring that I don't leave any money on the table with my insurance company. Thank you.
Thanks a lot for the kind words.
Yeah, and that's something, too, that you really do want to take some time and get educated. And, yeah, listening to the show and listening to what Scott Major is saying is helpful. But there, as we get into the nuts and bolts of it, I mean, it gets really technical. And learn as much as you can. And one way for you to do that is to go to the Coastal Palms 3 to 7 this week at La Quinta, 7115 Coastal Palms. 3 to 7 this week, and then they have a speech on Friday night at 6. You can call 844-800-LAWS, 844-800-LAWS, and reserve your spot. I recommend. Go ahead, sir.
I recommend, Kramer. I'm sorry, I apologize. I recommend that they call up and try to get a spot for the Friday thing because it'll be packed. I'll tell you, you and I have talked about this. Imagine all of the conversations you and I have had, and all of the nuances and details over the past 7 weeks or so, and offline and online. You've had we've spoken, and it's just incomprehensible how much data there is and how much you need to know. I keep using this analogy, but I think it's a good one. How soon would it take for you to learn a brand new language so fluently that you could give a speech in front of 100 people to?
Oh.
It would take you, years? Whatever. If ever, some people. So you want to make sure that you know this stuff. And you and I talk about this all the time. We're amazed at how complicated it is. So people, one of the problems you have is in a short show, and I know you have other great shows with other public adjusters, other people, and they try to educate people too. You just can't go this alone. And you've seen that from everybody who's calling in. We're 9 weeks in. It's time for you to get the best experts, whoever they are, to help get your property restored to the proper way it is. And if you're not sure, and you have vendors out there, please make sure that you call us and ask us an opinion. And one last thing about that. If you have, let's say your condo association, and the insurance company said, we're sending engineers out, which is what they commonly do. We're going to evaluate all your property. Don't wait on them to get your own engineer. Don't wait 6, 8, 10 weeks and then find out that they're paying 1/8 of your claim. Take charge of your claim, and it'll be a huge difference for you in money.
Let me ask you a question. When it comes to certain things, like a roof, okay, say that's leaking, that is an emergency. Am I wrong or right? Isn't that like an emergency, and shouldn't you be in control of going ahead and taking care of that?
Yes. If you have an emergency situation, and most of you have had it, and let's say you have to repair your roof or you can't wait any longer, you write to the insurance company, dear insurance company, I opened a claim on November X, and you guys said you were going to send somebody out. I still haven't had the repairs done to protect my property. On next Tuesday, December 18th, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start repairing my property with ABC Roofer or ABC General Contractor. Please contact me if you want to see the property again before I make those repairs, or alternatively, please justify to me why you haven't sent the money over so I can have those repairs made. And if they don't do that, they can't later complain and say, well, you made some repairs and didn't tell us about it. Because insurance companies will often say, if you make your own repairs and we don't know what the damage was beforehand, how do we know what your real damage was? How do we know you're not just fixing some problem that was 3 years ago? So it's very important to know all of these nuances, and also to make sure you educate the insurance company as to what you're doing so they can come out and fix the problem or have an inspector present so they later can't complain.
So if you do have an emergency repair and you have the money to go ahead and do it, and you do it, that insurance company, your insurance company, say water restoration, say you had mold, and you went ahead, you paid a contractor or a water restoration company to come in and take out the drywall, repair, dry it, whatever they do with their machines. You do that on your own dime. Aren't you supposed to be at that point reimbursed by the insurance company?
Yes, and you just want to give them notice of what you're doing. Make sure you have pictures so that when you finish the job, they've seen the before and afters. They generally will pay those claims in a reasonable amount, and especially if you sent them an estimate that here's what the company's going to charge me to do this. You have to be able to protect your property. There's actually a clause in your contract that says you have a duty to mitigate, means you have a duty to protect your property against further damage. You just have to properly document it so that you're sure and they're sure of exactly what the damage is they're fixing and why.
Excellent. All right, we've got some calls coming up, Mr. Major. You sit tight, have some eggnog over there.
And some donuts.
Yeah, some donuts, of course. Hugs and kisses, Kramer. 850-233-9988. Stand by.
There's a black man first day of Christmas, my true love sent to me a partridge in a pear tree.
On the second day of Christmas, my true love sent to me 2 turtle doves and a partridge in a pear tree.
Is anybody offended by the 12 Days of Christmas? Are there radio stations that have taken this off their playlist because they're afraid that it's bullying turtle doves? Whatever the heck a turtle dove is. Let's go to Scott Major from Major Paruas and the Storm Help Team. By the way, their website address, stormhelpteam.org. I think this is an education, a very helpful education, one that I think a lot of people in the area need. Let's go to Grant. Grant, you're up with Mr. Major. Go ahead, Grant.
Good morning, Kramer.
Morning.
Good morning, Mr. Major. I've got a kind of a request for the three of y'all, actually. You do the seminars every once in a while, like you got 2 this week, you had 2 a couple of weeks ago. I live in Marietta and work in Panama City. I don't have the leisure, the time to come down and attend one of your seminars. Is there any way you would record them and podcast them or anything like that to educate the people who can't come to the seminars?
The answer is, thank you for your call. The answer is, we are absolutely going to record these, and the ones we've done, we have recorded, and we're editing them now, and we will post them on the stormhelpteam.org site. Every radio show that we do with the wonderful Kramer, we put on that stormhelpteam.org site so that you can listen to every show. We also have additional videos that we already posted on stormhelpteam.org, and perhaps most importantly, no matter where you live, and no matter where every friend you have lives, you call 844-800-LAWS and you say, I need you to come to my city or my neighborhood or my church or my business, and we will go there, and we will educate as many or as few people as possible. Our job is to make you guys more comfortable, more powerful, more happy, and to do everything we can to empower you in a way that gives you the kind of relief that Kramer and I have been trying to espouse for the last 7 or 8 weeks. So reach out to us and let us know, and we will come to you. But if you go to the stormhelpteam.org, there's all kinds of videos and links and helpful information that you can use to better your chances to get more money sooner.
Well, I appreciate all the information. Kramer has done a wonderful job bringing in all kinds of experts and really opened the community's eyes since the storm. And, I mean, the Kramer Nation is getting stronger by the day. I just wish the signal was a little bit stronger and could carry all the way up to my hometown because we need just as much help as Panama City.
Yeah, well, hey, on that, I mean, make sure that you know that you can listen on our website too. You can go to newstalk101.com and you can listen to the shows live right on your phone. And a lot of people plug their phone into the vehicle and listen to it that way. So that information can be live. And like Mr. Major said on their website, they put that up. 844-800-LAWS, and don't forget that in the afternoon, 3 to 7, right, Scott?
That's correct.
Okay, yeah, 3 to 7. You can sign up and make sure you do that. Make sure you take advantage of that whole thing. And yeah, this is 1 hour of information. But when you're sitting down, listening and talking, going back and forth, can be ultra helpful. Mr. Major, say it one more time. Love and kisses you.
Love and kisses me, baby.
Talk to you soon, my friend. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks so much for all you're doing, man. We really appreciate it, and have a wonderful day. I'll talk to you soon.
Right back at you, Mr. Major. Scott Major from the Major Paruas and Storm Help Team. We'll talk to him soon. Stand by. More to come.